Hello, you guys.
Hello.
This is Marvin.
And Amber.
And Liberty's in the background, and we're with the Family O.
And we are so excited to be on episode 3 of the Family O audio experience.
Wow, 3 episodes.
3 episodes, babe.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
So what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about the downfall of comparing ourselves to other people.
We were in the car and we thought that this would be a really interesting topic to dive into. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you.
I am as well.
All right, well, we'll let the intro play and we will get started.
Faith, family, film. We are the Family O.
We are the Family O.
Faith, family, film. We are the Family O.
We are the Family O. All right, we are back with episode 3 of the Family O audio experience. My babe is sitting right next to me, looking oh so nice, and we're super excited to jump into today's topic. Wanted to let you guys know a quick housekeeping reminder to please follow us on Instagram at @the_family_o. That's the main place that we play on a day-to-day basis, and of course we're on Facebook at The Real Family O. And of course, YouTube.
Yep.
And I'm super excited because we're going to be actually recording these podcasts.
Yes.
So you guys get to see our newly remodeled home studio, a.k.a. our office, that my babe did her HGTV thing on. And I'm really excited for everybody to see it.
Y'all, my babe is so amazing.
Well, it's true. But anywho, as always, like I said, if you are listening to this on iTunes, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. It's greatly appreciated. Or wherever you're catching this podcast, we are everywhere. So click the link, make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on, and we are super excited with the content coming down the pipe over the next few weeks. So, talking about the downfall of comparing ourselves to others. Where do we begin?
I mean, first, I think the biggest thing is to ask ourselves the question of why do we make comparisons in the first place? Why are we doing that?
You know, I think it's a couple of things. The main thing that I think is that, you know, flexible people emulate and stubborn people compare.
Wow, I like that, babe.
You know, I feel like it's nothing wrong when it's a healthy comparison, you know, to others, but when it becomes unhealthy, I think that it's just not a good thing. So, you know, for me personally, you know, I consider myself a comedian that never stood on a stage at all, but you know, my comedic influences were a number of people: Jamie Foxx, the dad from Kid and Play.
Oh, Robin Harris.
Yes. You know, why don't you just go home? Test tube, baby. And you know, and a couple of other people that I'm inspired by from a comedy standpoint, but I don't compare myself to them. I know my humor, and I know that my humor is influenced by a lot of different people, but I don't compare my experience from a comedy standpoint and making people laugh. I love making people laugh, and that's what my babe, I knew we were going to work. You always were laughing at my jokes.
Always. Still do. And
so, you know, there are people that you can be inspired by, but I don't think that it's good to compare yourself. And I think once you are comparing yourself, that's when you're becoming stubborn, because you're looking at what you have and you're looking at what that other person has, that guy, that gal, and you're saying in a sense that, you know, what you have is not enough.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that 100%, sweetie. You know, I also, along the lines of being stubborn, I think about you know, a reason for why you would compare yourself. I think about insecurity, you know, being insecure. and basically just not feeling good about, who you are, or something that you may do as well. You just have the inkling that I need to look at the next person.
And what they have.
Exactly, and what they have. And it basically gets you off track for your goals in life and your purpose in life, because you're worrying about someone else. And I think that it's a discredit to God, if you will, to be so caught up in another person. And it's like, you've been gifted with so many amazing things, and your path is your path and their path is their path.
But it's so hard, because we see, how people are moving around and day to day. We see that person with the nice car or the nice house, and it's kind of hard when you're driving around a jalopy from 1995 to not compare yourself to others. But I think when you see that someone has something that you like, you have to be willing to go through. You have to be willing to go through what they went through
exactly
to have it. I heard it said the other day. It was a line that was quoted. I think Charlemagne on The Breakfast Club. Somebody said, "If you wanted to be Bobby Brown then, you got to be Bobby Brown now."
Yeah, that was I think an interview with Sherry Shepherd.
Yes, Sherry Shepherd. Yes, and so we don't know what those people that we are comparing ourselves to are going through. And 9 times out of 10, if that curtain gets pulled back and you see all of the trials that they may be dealing with, you might re-question wanting to have what it is that you think that you need from them that they have.
That's very true, because a lot of times you're just looking at the outside of a person, and you're looking at, you remember that saying, all that glitters is not gold.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So I think that, like you just mentioned, there's so much that one could be dealing with inside, even looking, model-like, almost perfect-like, but it's like, they have so much going on, and if you knew their true story, they'd probably be, like, wow, you're comparing yourself to me. Do you know what I've been through?
Yeah, I remember Tyra Banks when she was modeling back in the day, and she was talking about how, and I had no earthly idea that stuff is photoshopped.
Yes, so true.
They Photoshop to make them look a little more curvy or bring their stomach in or lighten their skin.
That's right.
I just thought if you were a model, there's nothing else that really needs to be done to you.
I know. I had no idea either. Yeah. Even going back to Tyra Banks, she has a mole that's on her neck. And it's been times where her mole has been photoshopped out of a picture.
They photoshopped that out? They can do that?
They can do all sorts of things.
I need them to photoshop some of these bills when they come to the house. Let's go and just airbrush it out. We don't owe them no more. But yeah, I mean, and so when we realize that you can put filters over your life, when you can put filters on social media, you can put filters just about anywhere.
Yeah.
I think that a lot more people will be a lot more free if they realize that. So
definitely,
I think just to talk through the insecurity, for me, I think that, you said, I think you covered this already about not feeling good about who you are and where we are now. And then I think a lot of it is what was spoken over us, coming up,
Yes.
For me, and this is just to be a little transparent here, I was always the fat kid. I was the fat sibling I was big boned did. But, and it was weird because I couldn't understand why everyone else, all of my other siblings, could eat whatever they want and they stayed bone skinny. But for me, I was always the one that if I eat a little bit, I was chunky, as a kid. And so I was always comparing myself to the people around me. Of course, my siblings, and outside of that, friends at school. And, I wasn't the most athletic person. And it didn't help that certain people of influence said certain things over me that I feel like really caused me to go in a downward spiral.
Yes.
You know, just from a confidence standpoint. I remember I played sports, and one of my coaches at the time, you know, he said some pretty mean things to me because I wasn't, you know, getting to the play in time. And, you know, he just, I won't even repeat what he said, but, you know, if I see him now, he might have to give me 5 minutes, to be honest with you. But I know I forgive and forget, right?
Remember we learned about that Sunday at church.
Yeah, you forgive, but you don't necessarily have to be around those people. But anywho, he said some things to me. Mind you, I was in high school, and for many years, we're coming up on, 20 years out of school at this point. I still deal with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because of some of the things that he and other folks, you know, in my family and friends at the time, where we're always kind of razzing on each other.
Yes.
We called it ranking. What y'all
back
call it?
Back in the day, scoring.
Scoring, okay. So we would always kind of talk about each other, and there were certain things that would be kind of below the belt.
Yes.
And, you know, for me, as a pseudo comedian, it helped me become, that was my defense mechanism, was kind of scoring back on people and getting as creative as possible. But I still, to this day, you know, deal with some of the things that were spoken over me. And I know a lot of people have.
Yes.
And that's why, you know, we have confidence issues with our kids growing up, childhood obesity. You know, we know now, you know, there's kids out there that their parents just feed them whatever and then turn around and say, you know, you putting on too much weight, or you getting fat and stuff like that. And it's like,
I'm a child. You're the one that's feeding me.
Exactly. But, you know, parents don't know any better because they're comparing their kids to, you know, Sally Sue's kids down the street. So it just turns into a domino effect that I think can cause a lot of problems from that day forward as a child. And, you know, what's spoken over you as a child really can stick with you. If you were spoken confidence, if your parents believed that you could do anything in the world and they really truly put that spirit in you, then a lot of those individuals today are some of the superheroes and the individuals that are running these multi-billion-dollar companies because they had a springboard of parents that told them, you can do this. I'm going to set you up. Now go win. Exactly.
That was confidence, you know, that was spoken into them versus the insecurity that we were talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it also made me think, as you were talking a little bit, babe, about just when we are insecure, by way of comparing ourselves, we're not being content, and we're always seeking more in an unhealthy way.
Yes.
You know, because we obviously want to constantly be growing. We want to be reaching goals and new heights and things of that nature. However, when you are dealing with insecurity, a lot of times you tend to just have your focus not intact. You end up basically trying to get to certain heights, but you're doing it in not the right way. So it could be, cutting corners, you know, just not having the best integrity, things like that. Also, just not being happy and grateful for where you are because you're so caught up in what another person is doing that you're not recognizing all the blessings that are in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us don't realize that we are more blessed than the entire world if you live in the United States. I heard Gary Vee say that, you know, you have, I think it was a 700 million to 1 chance of becoming a human being, if he's using the sperm analogy, that we're the sperm that made it.
Yes.
And, you know, once you realize that, then you say, okay, you know what, I may not be where I need to be right now, but you know what? I'm in the best place in the world to make it.
Exactly.
Like if you can make it in America, you can make it anywhere else.
Very true.
And if you have a job right now and you're gainfully employed, you are probably making more than 90% of the world.
The rest of the world.
And you can build from there. And, you know, if you're if you're in school or if you're at home, you know, staying with your parents, whatever the case is, you know, don't compare yourself to what somebody else is out there doing, because again, they may be cutting corners to have what it is that they have, and for you, it might just be taking a little bit longer. Coming from Houston, I believe in. I say it all the time: get it from the mud.
Yes.
When you get it from the mud, you really realize that it was really worth it. And I know we're gonna talk about this later on in this podcast, but we've had quite a journey.
Yes.
I mean, we've done some of everything, jobs that I would never want to do. Would you like us to talk about those jobs that we've had together over the years?
Definitely.
So I think the first job that Babe and I had, and mind you, this was fresh out of college, both of us with degrees, and this was around the time of the recession back in 2008, and we graduated in 2007, and we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I always said, my first job, babe, it's going to be $50K out the gate. They're going to have to pay me for all this time it took me in school. And it didn't work like that,
No,
and
not at all.
And, some of the people that we knew at the time, some of them had degrees, most of them did not. And it looked like they were just balling out of control.
Yes.
And it's like, well, geez, we racked up all this debt. and these folks out here, really living it up with none of this, no rope around their neck from a debt standpoint. And it's just like, wow, why are we struggling like this?
Exactly.
And I mean, we work 5-star, which in Houston is it's a company that security company that outsources. If you ever go to a soccer game or a baseball game and you see people there working the tickets and walking to see ushers and stuff like that, this was the type of job that we had, and we're just out here in this Houston heat at a soccer game. And I'm just like, what have I done with my life? And what have I done with this relationship? What are we doing? And then I think one of the jobs we did shortly after that, I think it was still with 5-star, or it was with that other company. That other company. And we were at Rockets games.
Yes.
And we were the people, Amber and I, that would wand you down as you're coming through the metal. There was no metal detector, but you had to show me your purse. Or if it's a guy, I had to, wand you down. If it was Babe, you were looking in the purse.
Yes.
And I remember seeing one young man from our school, and he recognized me because Babe and I were always together. We were always been together. And so, he saw me, and he had this look on his face like, this dude hit rock bottom. And I could tell he was looking at me with this like, man, I'm sorry, bro. What happened to you, bro?
Yeah.
Kind of look. But, it was what it was. And then what are some other jobs that we've had together?
Oh, my goodness. We did collections together.
Were bill collectors. Yeah.
Bill collectors. And you guys, I mean, that by far was the hardest challenging job, and I just mean it from the perspective of trying to get what does my babe always say, water out of a turnip? Is that what you say? Blood from a turnip?
Yes.
Because here you are trying to get money from people that just don't have the money to pay this debt. They don't have it.
Yeah, and I worked in collections in almost my entire young adult life, and Babe, I'm just watching Babe, and she just doesn't know any of the strategies. I mean, she was just like, "Oh, you can't pay $20 a month? Okay, no problem. Be blessed. Have a blessed day." I'm like, Babe, that's not what you're supposed to. Try your hardest to get them on a payment plan and whatnot. But I just knew, comparing ourselves to others, because we had a lot of friends at the time, as I was saying, that a lot of them were doing very, very well during this period of time, and we weren't. And so what we did to essentially help ourselves is we had to remove ourselves.
Yes.
At some point we had to. I mean, it was like either we're going to remove ourselves from this situation, or we are going to be very, very unhappy that we don't have what the Joneses have, because we had a lot of Joneses as friends and associates and stuff like that. So it was tough being around those people. It
was very tough, and naturally, Babe and I are not competitive people like that.
Not at all.
However, at that time, it was almost tempting to begin to start being like, okay, well, I can show you. Oh, you think you're doing something? No, I can show you better. when we started noticing that spirit of comparing ourselves, we knew we had to do something different because we just didn't even feel right inside. We started to not be able to recognize ourselves in that area. And so we knew our environment had to change. We knew that we had to, as Babe just mentioned, go ahead and distance ourselves from certain people because we saw that it wasn't authentic. The situations were not authentic. Right. And we just wanted to make sure that we were being our better selves.
Yeah, because if you're around enough of that, if you're around that competing, unhealthy competition, you're going to start to do things so that you can keep up. You're going to start putting things on credit or buying, spending more money than you truly have just so you can keep up. You're going to go shopping at the Hermes store. Is it Hermes? Or
Hermes. Mm-hmm.
Herman.
Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, all the little top names in the world.
If you don't have the cash, you're just going to put it on credit.
Yes.
So doing all of this just to look at, what is it saying? It says, buying stuff you can't afford for people you don't like is something you can't afford. Dave Ramsey always says it. But to look good for people you don't like, buying stuff you can't afford. And I just feel like, it's just not a good thing for us. There's so many people doing it. And of course, social media.
Yes.
Social media don't help. Social media don't help at all.
Not at all.
I mean, it gets to a point, sweetie, and you let me know if you agree or not. It gets to a point that you got to start unfollowing people.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to do that. I mean, we've both had to go through our people that we're following and unfollow because for us, we definitely understand the ideal of if something is basically causing you to sin, you need to pluck that out of your life. You know, you need to remove that from your life. Yeah. And so, a lot of times on social media, you'll see a lot of representation that appears authentic, but it may not be. It may be. It may not be. We don't really know. Right. But you see like those hashtags like family goals, relationship goals, things like that. Yeah. And it's funny because even people have said things like that to us, and we just kind of laugh at it. But at the end of the day, we all have masks that we can choose to wear or choose not to wear. Yeah. And I think on social media, a lot of times you see a lot of people that are definitely choosing to wear that mask. Right. And I think that if you are not being true to yourself and you are covering up and you're portraying a certain image that's not authentic, then I think that it's best for you to just halt, take a break, take a step back. And, you have to just learn that discipline because it's not going to do you any good and it's going to make you not feel good. And then going back to the topic at hand, then you're starting to compare yourself. Well, oh my goodness, look at what he did. Look what he did for his wife. Oh my goodness, he did this, he did that. Well, my spouse doesn't do that. You just start, and it's like, sometimes people, they will literally set things up just so, a picture can be taken or a video can be recorded.
That's true.
And it's not a real thing. You just don't know what's going on with people. Yeah. You don't know that gentleman may have done something very unhealthy to the woman before they even did whatever have you, but they're doing it for show. You just never know. And that's of course not all cases, but this is just for those of us that are looking at other people and wishing we had something that they have, not knowing the whole picture of what's going on.
For sure. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the downfall of comparing yourself to others and why it's just not healthy to do short term or long term. And so I do want to talk about the environment. Like, what are some places that you can think of that people compare themselves? One place I can think of is in the workplace.
Oh, yes, at work, definitely.
Workplace environments, I think, are some of the worst places that comparing yourself happens, especially if a coworker might have a certain skill set that you don't have. Yes. And they may be getting accolades for it, from the boss. And then you feeling like, okay, well, maybe I need to do a little bit of, brown nosing or maybe I need to, just not have the highest level of integrity in the office because, doing things the right way is not going to get you where you need to be. I mean, that's like an assumption. And I feel like that's like putting your faith in your abilities versus putting your faith in God and Him equipping you and promoting you. And I mean, some of the ways that I've been able to move and shake in my career, there's nothing I could have done. It was only God, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like there are lots of scenarios where if you are not going about things the right way, or you see someone in the office not going about things the right way, you may be tempted to emulate what they're doing in order to, quote unquote, be successful.
Definitely, babe. I agree with that. Another place that I thought about as it relates to environment was the gym.
The gym.
Yes. I thought about that because
health as well.
Yes, because like this is going back to social media as well. A lot of times you'll see so many people online that are showing their physique. They obviously work out, and I think that you don't really know the story behind what's taking place. Right. If you notice, however, though, you'll see some people that will do like a Transformation Tuesday where they will show you like how far they've come and the work that they've put in and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then, just reveal their current status. And so I just thought about that because when you see a person in the gym, you don't know where that person has come from. Yeah. You don't know what struggles they've had. You don't know what type of health problems they may have had. For sure. And it may not always be to that level. For some people, they just love working out just to stay in shape or to stay healthy or whatnot. But for some people, they literally have a story. Yeah. Their family may have had some type of disease that was translated by food that they're eating, for example.
And they're trying to avoid
becoming that way. Yeah. And then just kind of like you were mentioning, babe, sometimes the way we're growing up, there's a certain type of disease with the way we're being raised and what we're being fed and things like that. Sure. So maybe certain people have struggled with their weight growing up, and now that they're older and they have more control of their life, they're able to go into the gym and take care of themselves. So if you see a person and they physically look a certain way that you might aspire to be, you don't know their story. Don't try to compare yourself with them. Because everyone has a story. Everyone has come from a certain place. And I was just thinking, babe, we were in Houston last week, and we ended up meeting a gentleman at the hotel where we were that was a vegan. Oh, okay. And remember we met that guy? Yes. Mm-hmm. And so what was interesting, you guys, is that this gentleman was he had a smaller type of physique. Yeah, he was a real small guy. Yes, but what was interesting is that later that week we met him. Later on the week, Liberty and I were on the shuttle, the hotel shuttle, and a gentleman, he had dropped us off at Pepper Tree, one of our favorite restaurants there in Houston, and he was asking if the food was good. I was explaining to him it was good and it was vegan food and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then it made him bring up the fact about the gentleman we had met previously in the hotel and how that gentleman was a vegan, and how he said that the gentleman was really big. Wow. And he couldn't believe how much weight he had dropped being a vegan. Yeah. So I just said all that to say, when you first see that gentleman, you may have just assumed, he's always looked this way, and so you may have a tendency to want to look at him a certain way, but it's like he hadn't. He was a heavy guy. Right. He decided he wanted to make a lifestyle change, and then he got a different result. And
the last thing I'll say about that, from a health perspective and comparing yourself to others, is when you do get that goal, quote unquote, that you were aspiring to, they say it all the time, the glow up is real. Yes. And then these people that were like 300 or 400 pounds that are now a size 8 or whatever small size is, they start crapping on other people and kind of being what it was that they felt when they were, maybe being teased by the smaller guys or gals. And, you just don't want to do that because, again, someone is watching you, and you are essentially continuing that cycle of comparison and negativity by being that thing that you hated so much growing up. So it's I just hope that, like I said, social media has really bad with that,
Yes.
specifically with kids, because kids really, like, I heard some news report that kids were like hurting themselves if they didn't get a certain number of likes,
Yeah.
you know, within a certain time, or they'll take 1,000 pictures. I didn't even know this, that people take like several pictures before they post
it.
one.
Wow.
And that's just like really, really, it's mental.
Yeah.
It's a mental health issue, you know, at that point. But like I said, getting out of the rat race, which is what we did, you know, unfollowing pages that make you feel like you are not enough, that you are comparing yourself to others. And it could be physical, it could be, you know, it could be income wise, it could be that, you know, that person that has that house you think you want, not realizing that, you know, they gotta pay a mortgage too. So you know, or, you know, just any number of things. I think, you know, once you realize your identity in Christ, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, I think that it will help us to have a grateful heart and to be thankful. And like I said, something that I do now is I'll look in the mirror and I'll say, "How you doing, you sexy son of a gun?" Like, I'll say that to myself, and it's not in a vain way, because Babe tells me all the time how nice I look, and I tell Babe how nice she looks all the time. But you know, sometimes others can pour into you as much as they can, but only you can keep your well full, because those voices that are in our mind, those voices that have us comparing ourselves to other people, we got to deal with that. Whether our mate or family member is sowing into us, we have to be the first people to speak positivity over ourselves, and we have to be the last person to speak positivity over ourselves. So
just like that Donnell Lawrence song, sometimes you have to speak.
Encourage yourself. See, you did the third verse. I was on the second verse. You know how they go.
Yeah, but, that's hilarious.
But anywho, I mean, let us know, what are some of your ways out there, if you're listening to this on YouTube, what are some of the ways that you overcome you've overcome comparing yourself to others? Is there something that you're currently dealing with right now? Did you kind of get some strategies from today's podcast that will help you, you know, not feel how you're feeling? You know, shoot us an email, thefamilyObusiness@gmail.com, if you've gotten over something by today's podcast and you've gotten blessed by it in some capacity. Before we wrap up, sweetie, do you have any final words or anything? No,
I think we've said it all. We just appreciate you guys tuning in, and we just want to continue to just talk about things that we feel a lot of us deal with or have dealt with.
Yeah. And letting y'all know that we deal with it too. You know, we've dealt with it too, and we're taking our own advice on a daily basis. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is Marvin
and Amber,
and Liberty is around. She wanted to enjoy her cartoon before bed, so we didn't get in her way of that. But every Monday, guys, we are going to try to put out a new episode, and we're really excited to talk about next week's podcast, which is going to be how we travel on a budget. Yes. If you follow us on Instagram, and I'm highly recommending that you guys check us out if you're on Instagram at _family_O. We're going to be talking about, you know, all of the strategies and tips that we use to travel. We took like 5 trips this summer in a 60-day period. I mean, just a hot, bubbly mess, but it was so fun.
So much fun.
I mean, we went to Alabama.
We went to South Carolina.
We went to New York.
We went to Houston.
We went to one more place.
I don't remember.
Athens, Georgia. We were in Georgia.
That's right.
East Georgia. So we're super excited to drill down on that. Make sure you subscribe. Click the link in the description box of this podcast to sign up your email, and we will see you guys on the next podcast.
All right.
All right, guys. Peace.